take away one single thought from the whole week, take away the thought that there are deep parallels between the challenges that faced America at the end of the 19th century and the challenges that face us now. They had been through an industrial revolution which had brought them lots of new, nifty gadgets, really niftier than iPads. And that is, the telephone is a niftier, if you've never had a telephone is for sure a niftier invention. Almost all of them were materially better off than their parents had been, but they felt disconnected. And a lot of the challenges that we face today are exactly the challenges that they faced. A growing gap between rich and poor. The only two times in American history when the gap between rich and poor has grown was then and now. A sense of disconnection from other people. And there was a lot of sort of cultural talk about how we've become disconnected from one another. As one intellectual said, we've changed things faster than we know how to change ourselves. A massive wave of immigration which was changing the face of America, and it meant that the people around you didn't look like you anymore. And then, in almost an instant, historically speaking, within 10 or 20 years, they fixed the problem. The people at the end of the 19th century, between roughly 1890 and 1910, most of the major civic organizations in American life today were invented. The Boy Scouts, and the Red Cross, and the League of Women Voters, and the NAACP, and the Urban League, and the Knights of Columbus, and Rotary, and Hadassah, and Kiwanis, and Lions, and I could just keep going. It's hard to name a major civic institution in American life today that was not invented in about 20 years at the turn of the 19th century. Take kids-serving organizations. All of the major kids-serving organizations in America were invented in 5 years between 1908 and 1913. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and the Campfire Girls and 4-H and so on. Why did it happen that all those organizations were invented in such a small period of time? Because they were responses to the challenge that the country felt. I don't mean that there was a big sign that we are facing a social capital challenge. I meant people in their own communities knew that their parents had been connected with, or that their, other people, and historically their families had been connected, but they had lost those connections. The people who noticed this most tended to be older people. That is, the intellectuals who commented on it tended to be older people because they actually knew in their own personal experience that it didn't have to be that way, that you could live in a place where you knew your neighbors and connected and so on. They tended not to be the people who invented the new ways of connecting. The people who invented, you've got to see that. It's very hard for us now even to see the Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club as a social invention, but actually those were among the most interesting social inventions of the 20th century. And they were done by very young people. The guy who invented Kiwanis was 27 years old. You're worried about kids in the neighborhood because they don't know each other. They come from all over the world, and it's nothing like Huck Finn, on the banks of the Mississippi, getting together with these kids. And then a guy comes to town and says, "Have I got an idea for you? Shorts and beanies and little badges." And believe, trust me, it's going to be just like the kids on the banks of the Mississippi River. Well, what I'm trying to do is to make you feel the Boy Scouts or the Red Cross or the Kiwanis or whatever as an invention. Now, all we got to do now is, in a sense, reinvent the Kiwanis Club. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying this time around it'll be organizations like that. It's not a matter of trying to recreate the 1950s. I'm not saying, would all women please report to the kitchen and turn off the television. And so we're not going to be. We're not going to. We shouldn't want to go back to the 1950s, but we should want to try to recapture, in some sense, the kinds of connections that we had in the 1950s with new ways of connecting that fit the way we've come to live. And the internet will be part of that, but it won't. The internet is not a cure-all for this at all.